All right, so in the first set of videos, we talked about an overview in how to prepare yourself. So now this section is going to be you're getting ready to go. So what you want to do is make sure your address is up to date and current in your student portal. You'll be able to make changes yourself. So look at your mailing address because your dosimeter, your student photo ID, and your ARRT applications get mailed to your mailing address. Make sure you also have your right and left markers with you to take to clinical. If you don't have a set, we have links where you can order some, but you want to get them ahead of time. Also, you'll want to be familiar with all the forms before you arrive. So take time to make sure you review all the forms in the student handbook, and I'll be reviewing those in the next section as well. Organize your materials, such as a binder with dividers or separate folders, whatever works for you. There's a lot of forms. You want to stay organized. So, you will need to be scanning your documents while you're on your clinical site. So, you can download a free app called CamScanner onto your tablet or your phone. You can use this app to save your documents as a PDF file, a JPEG, what have you. Do not use the scanners and copiers at your hospital. That's office equipment for your site. If you need to make a copy of a clinical form, ask for permission. Do not assume that it's perfectly acceptable to do so. So in your clinical Blackboard course, under resources, the third item down, as you see there, how to scan documents with your tablet. Again, it's a free app called CamScanner. You can download it to your phone or to your tablet. So, preclinical forms. All of these will need to be uploaded into your Blackboard course for clinical. They are required for submission to the Human Resource and Employee Health Department at your hospital. These deadlines are critical. Procrastination on your part will lead to a cancellation of your seat at clinical. This will cause a delay in your clinical, your graduation, your ARRT test date, and I assure you will have a negative financial impact on you. Rescheduling clinical would mean that would depend on the seats available after the regularly scheduled group of students get scheduled. You would receive whatever is left, if any, from our locations. You will need to upload the results of your background check and drug screen. We do not automatically get your results, especially the drug screens. The labs will tell you, oh, we'll send it to your school. No, they won't. It'll be your responsibility to get the results and upload it into Blackboard. We cannot accept other types of CPR certification other than the American Heart Association with the BLS for healthcare providers. Don't even think about taking CPR online. You might be the one actually performing CPR at your clinical site until the code team arrives. In fact, we've had that happen the last 3 or 4 semesters. One of our APTR students at one of our sites has been the one actually performing cardiac compressions. If it were me, I certainly wouldn't want someone who had CPR online actually compressing my heart. This timeline for all these deadlines for all your forms is very critical. Again, they have to be accepted and processed by the hospital in order to get permission for you to be there. So if you failed to submit your documents by deadline, you can lose your seat for clinical. Nobody wants that. So just do it. Again, CPR must be with the American Heart Association, the basic life support for healthcare providers. It cannot expire while you're on site, so check the expiration date on your CPR. Your background check, the one you had at the beginning of the program, is fine as long as it's within 12 months and there has been no new activity. You will need to upload it. We don't automatically get it or have it anywhere. So make sure that you get it in time. And again, if you've had new activity, you'll have to get a new one. Or if you failed a class and it's been a while and the background check you had is over 12 months old, yes, you will need to get a new one. So your drug screen must be a 10-panel and within 30 days of clinical start, no earlier. It can be an older one. It's only 30 days or less before you start clinical. Your immunizations, you can upload them all at one time. You will need the hepatitis B, which is a 3-dose, or if you think you've had the series but can't document it, you'll need a titer. That's a blood draw that shows you still have immunity for hepatitis B. Measles, mumps, and rubella as a 2-dose, or again, a titer if you can't document that. Your PPD, or also known as TB, is a skin test, or if you happen to have a positive skin test, we will accept a chest x-ray. Again, we will need those results. Your tetanus, diphtheria, and pertussis is a 1-dose with a booster every 10 years. So look at your immunization. If it's older than 10 years, you will need a booster. Varicella needs to be a 2-dose or a titer. Even if you had the disease, I don't need a note from your mom that says Billy had chickenpox from his sister. You have to have a titer. Again, blood draw that shows you have immunity. Your seasonal flu. Now that needs to be during the season, the flu that is the flu season that you're going to clinical. So for example, if you're going to clinical in January, the flu season started in September. So you want to make sure you get the flu vaccine for that season. These are non-negotiable. So you can't tell me, oh, well, I'm an anti-vaxxer or whatever. Well, that's your choice, but you're also not going to the hospital. If you have any questions, again, let me know. You can use our form, or you can upload your own immunization record, but it'll be your responsibility to make sure all those immunizations are recorded and uploaded into Blackboard. Also, your CPR gets uploaded into the immunization section. Now, you have some acknowledgments. We have 5 acknowledgments, the preclinicals that you will need to read, sign, and update. Of course, your clinical handbook, you agree to abide by the policies. You've had an opportunity to have any questions answered for you, signed and dated. Your attendance policy, you know that it is 252 hours, period. No negotiation there. Again, sign, date. Pregnancy policy, again, all students have to acknowledge, sign, and date it, male and female. Males, again, you have to acknowledge that we have a policy. So, again, everybody has to sign that. Repeat policy. Again, you have to acknowledge that any repeats you make are under direct supervision of a qualified radiographer of at least 1 year's experience. And finally, your clinical shift volunteer record. So it's got little areas there. You can check the boxes, or if you check none of those, that means you do not wish to be working or scheduled during any of those categories. And again, that's your right to do so, but let me just explain. So if you decided you wanted to work more than 10 hours and you did not have that checked, you are not allowed to do so. You would have, and again, just to let you know, you are not allowed to work more than 10 hours without permission from both myself and your clinical instructor. You cannot take it upon yourself to work long shifts in an attempt to try to finish clinical early. We've lost some really great clinical sites with when I first came on board, because students just took it upon themselves. I'm going to work all these marathon hours so I can hurry up and get back home. Well, no, the clinical side, that irritates them because you have that attitude of, let me just do the minimum amount, hurry up and get back home. So why would they spend their time teaching you these exams, especially the new ones? Ultimately, it is the patient that suffers. They're going to get a slipshod exam by someone who really didn't take the time to perfect that technique and perfect that exam. Again, a misdiagnosis can occur. So it won't happen unless you have an extenuating circumstance and you have permission by both myself and the clinical instructor. You cannot set your own hours. Also, if you don't check the box, let's say for working a weekend shift, for example. Again, you're not required to work a weekend shift. However, there are several of our sites that will want you to work, let's say, Wednesday through Saturday, or Sunday through Wednesday, or perhaps you saw a really interesting case come in through the emergency room and they're going to take that patient to surgery first thing Saturday morning. Well, if you didn't check that box, then you can't come in unless you filled out another form and checked weekend shift. So just to let you know. Or maybe you needed some extra time doing portables and you wanted to come in with the night tech to do ICU portables. Again, that's before 5 a.m. If you didn't check that box, you couldn't do so. Or if you wanted to stay past 7 p.m., maybe you wanted to do a shift in the emergency room and see some of the trauma that's coming in. If it's past 7 p.m. and you did not check that box, you will not be allowed to do so. So just to let you know, those are some of the preclinical forms that we have and an explanation of those. Again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. I'm glad to go over that with you. In the third section, in the third video, I will go over some of the forms. Again, more forms, the ones that you will have while you're on clinical side. All right, thanks.